everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our monthly Anewgo Amplify client training for the month of August. I can't believe we're here already. August, back to school. So, hope you guys are all doing well. Feel free to utilize chat. I will be monitoring to see if we have any questions come through during today's topic. Beth Byrd is our VP of Sales. Hopefully, you guys all know her by now. And she's going to be covering all the ways that Anewgo connects to other systems that you already use. So data integration, XML feeds, and webhooks, something that I don't know a whole lot about. So I'm definitely looking forward to learning myself. I'm Anya Chrysanthemum, Chief Communications Officer here at Anewgo. So with that, let's jump in.
Thanks, Anya. So excited to talk to you all about this. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I have been the one that had to do a lot of this data entry in the past when I was a client. So I want to walk you through what these things are, why would we use them, and see if there's some additional value and benefits that we can provide to your team. So we're going over webhooks, XML feeds, and data ingestions today. Stop the double entry, connect your systems. So let's start by talking about why does this matter? Why should we care? First of all, we all need to streamline and simplify our workload. We have a lot on our plates. There's a lot to manage. And so anytime you can eliminate duplicate work, that's ideal. Secondly, when you are duplicating your work, you are increasing the potential for errors. We are humans, we make mistakes, and when we're moving information back and forth between places, it's easy to add an extra zero, omit another number, copy the wrong description over, whatever that would be. Minimize those manual entry errors with data projects. The third is reducing delays. So, for example, maybe you have a pricing update in your system. You've got to take the time then to go and plug all that information into other places. So there's a delay in that updated information, or maybe that is a home site that's reserved. You don't have time to get in and make that update. Even though it's quick, those little things add up. So these types of projects help to very quickly get the information from one place to another. So let's jump in and talk about what are the three different ways that Anewgo can do this. And the first that I want to talk about is webhooks. This is the simplest one to add to your Anewgo tools. And a webhook is simply put an automated message sent from one system to another when a specific event occurs. Okay, think of this like a trigger or an automated notification. And let's talk about how or what webhooks Anewgo offers. There are two different categories. One is lead activity, and the other is interest and engagement webhooks. So lead activity is something that they did on the site. They registered, meaning they created an account for the first time, or they signed in again, or they created a brochure, or they added a favorite, or if you have a website, they submitted a form on your website. Those are the lead activity webhooks we support. On the interest and engagement side, they submitted a contact. So they contact the builder. That's for the marketing app only because you're not using the forms that the website would have. If they indicated interest in a home or location, and those are based on their activity in the app. So maybe they haven't made it a favorite, but we think they might be interested because they've spent some time on that page. So what does this actually look like? When these activities occur in Anewgo, Anewgo is going to send this information out through a webhook to your third party, and typically that is your CRM. And there's two ways we do that, either with Zapier, which is a flexible connection, or with Lasso, where we have a direct connection. So we need a way to send this information over to your CRM. The idea is the salesperson gets that information and is able to act on it more quickly. So in Zapier, what you can do, and this is a great tool, by the way, to use for many other automations in your company. So I'd encourage you to look into that. But what it does is it routes that information to your CRM or an email tool, and it can trigger automations in your workflow. It doesn't require any custom development. It's very flexible. It's very configurable. So each of these are individual webhooks that you can choose to turn on or off if you choose this service with Anewgo. So you don't have to have all of these. Maybe you say it's clogging up with too many zaps from the home interest lead. You don't have to do that one. You can just choose the ones that you want. So it's very easy to configure. If you're using Lasso, you don't have to use Zapier, which is sort of a middleman. Everything goes directly into Lasso. So there's no other product needed. And this is configured in the back end of our system. Now, our webhooks do require a separate subscription, and there are a couple of options we have for that. So I'd be glad to talk to you about that if this is something that you want to do. I think the key is, again, quickly getting the buyer information to your sales team, because it's really important for your team, whether it's your online sales team or your on-site sales team, to have visibility into what your customer's doing. And I would bet most of you have a setup so that you can see in the CRM when a customer is visiting your website and what pages they've been on. That's a good start. But it's not telling you the more specific intent activities, especially big things like creating a brochure. And when you have that brochure webhook set up, not only does it say, hey, Anya just created a new brochure, it puts the link to that brochure directly into the CRM. So they can just click on it and immediately see, what did Anya design? What home is Anya interested in? And that's going to really provide opportunities for meaningful, detailed follow-up rather than generic follow-up. Okay, so that's webhooks. Next, let's talk about XML feeds. An XML feed automatically delivers structured data to platforms, and that keeps your information current without manual updates. If you look at the list of it, it looks like a bunch of coding with maybe some of your product information that you might recognize mixed in. These are the feeds we currently support or are in the process of building. So that would be Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, BDX, and NoviHome. And the idea is, when you make an update in your website or your marketing app, rather than having to manually update these platforms in their dashboard, we are pushing that information over to them so that they have all of that in real time. Again, you're eliminating one more point of data entry. So this is a pretty simple one to set up. This is an additional subscription service. There's a setup fee for us to build that feed initially, and then there is a monthly maintenance feed for us to continue to maintain the feed, identify any errors, troubleshoot as needed. So that is XML feeds. Now let's talk about the big one, data ingestion. This is the most complex of all of these processes, but it is probably the biggest time saver, the most important to consider for your company. Simply put, a data ingestion is retrieving structured data from your ERP and it's mapping it to the fields that we have in Anewgo. Okay, so let's talk about exactly what that looks like and how that works. There are a few ways that we can retrieve the data. We can do it with a SQL database, either hosted by us or by the builder. That's our preferred method. It gives the most flexibility to use the builder to determine what tables you want us to read, what information we want to read. It is possible to do through an XML feed or an endpoint as well. An API is probably the second best option, and this is where the ERP has provided an API that we can directly get into. We also can do a spreadsheet. We've got a couple builders that do this. They format a spreadsheet with the information we need. It's really practical when the other options are not available currently to you. So our team will work with you to figure out which is the best, which system is going to be the easiest for you to manage and for us to access. Now, one thing that's important to note here, we are getting read-only access. We are not writing to your ERP. So think of this as a pull only, not a push of data. So we are receiving information. We are not telling your ERP anything about what's happening in the customer journey. This is just a pull. All right. So let's talk about what can we pull over. Starting with the community and plan data, we can pull the size, the cost, the number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, number of garages, floor plan options and their individual costs, floor plan option size, square footage tied to those options, and a marketing description, both for the plans and the communities. And it's important to note that we can support community specific pricing, as well as, I should have noted here, elevation specific pricing. So you may have your Hampton plan and elevation A is a different price in community 1 compared to community 2. Those can vary. So that is an option for you. Additionally, in your lot data table, we can map your sales status. Is this available? Is this sold? Is this reserved? The lot number, the address, your lot premium, the size of the lot, and then the garage position, whether it's empty or left or right. And this is especially helpful when you have your SVG or mirroring floor plans. So if your ERP says this home site must be a left load and you have mirrored floor plans set up, the customer will, if they design it, they'll be told this lot has to be a left load, and it will flip and show it in the correct orientation. Then your inventory home data. So it's pulling everything we've already talked about in terms of the plan and lot, but it's putting it to a specific home for sale. This is which plan and elevation are being built, what's the price of this home, the size, bed, bath count, and then which specific options were selected for this address. And even with the right system, we can map which color scheme, when you've used that in the back end, which color scheme is applied to the home, as well as the marketing description for the home. So all of this specific information, rather than having to set up an inventory home in Anewgo every time you start building one, that can pull directly from your ERP. All right, so let's talk about what do we need to do to set that. First, there are requirements, and the most important is that we have unique IDs. We need to have an identifier that we can use to map the two pieces of information, and the 4 we must have with community, plan, floor plan, and lot ID. There are other fields that we can support besides what you saw in the slides that I just showed. Basically, if we have a field in our system for it, we can map to it. So you may have other things in mind that you'd like to connect. Bring those to us. We'll be happy to review them for you and see if that is a field that we can map. Because basically every one of these is a custom project. Yes, there are some where we've worked with a particular ERP before, but every builder uses their ERP a little bit differently. They organize their plan and option data differently. And so each of these projects will meet together with you. We'll identify what information do you have, what information do you want to push into Anewgo. We'll create a plan to map all of that that's specific to you. So this is not a one size fits all. This is very much a custom project to consider. Now, one of the most common questions I get is, what systems do you map to or do you integrate with? And the answer is most any of them. They all, like I said, vary significantly. So reach out to me if you have questions about your specific system. Most of the big systems out there we have worked with or have already done some work assessing the level of access that we have, but I'm going to say it again because it's very important. Each project is custom. So we're happy to review that with you. The other big thing is pricing. The pricing can vary because it's a custom project, but overall, there's typically a setup fee for us to initially build that ingestion project. And then there's a monthly maintenance fee. And in that monthly maintenance fee, it is covering the work that we need to do to continue to support it. So we're going to daily call that. So you've got the call of information happening, as well as our team supporting and maintaining, which there's a lot that's involved there too. So for specific pricing, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be glad to set up a meeting to talk with you. Really, at the end, the focus is, how do we spend less time doing manual work? How do you reduce errors, and how do you get that information more quickly into your system? That's the key here. So my information's here. Most of you probably already have it, but just in case, this is my email, my cell phone. I'd be glad to schedule time to talk through what this would look like for your company and if this would be a valuable tool for you. So thank you so much, Anya.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Our next Anewgo Amplify next month in September is going to be all about AEO, Answer Engine Optimization, and the tools that we have at Anewgo to help you show up better in LLMs. So it's going to be a really exciting topic and definitely a hot topic as of right now. So we'll see you guys next time. Again, thank you so much for being here with us, and please feel free to forward it to anyone that you think would benefit from this information. With that, that's a wrap. Bye, guys.
Thanks.